We all know someone who gets called an old soul. They're the fiercely independent, hyper-capable friend who always seems to know exactly what to do when a crisis hits. Society tends to praise this kind of early maturity, but the psychological reality is different. These kids don't lose their childhood all at once. They simply realize one day that somebody has to step up and be responsible, so it might as well be them. In psychology, this dynamic is called parentification. A child is forced to manage heavy emotions long before they are developmentally ready. Faced with this pressure, the brain adapts. It pushes the child's own needs aside, prioritizing survival over emotional development. Their feelings come last. Fast forward a few decades, and the result is an adult who looks incredibly strong. They seem perfectly put together, armed with the tools to handle almost anything life throws at them. Underneath that hyper-competent exterior lies a systemic hurdle. Because their nervous system was wired to constantly manage chaos, these individuals find it difficult to ever truly relax. This wiring starts in environments where steady, reliable support is absent. When a child realizes they cannot count on the adults around them, their developmental path fractures. This chart illustrates a phenomenon known as split maturity. Notice how the top timeline, representing logistical and analytical skills, is fast-tracked for survival. Meanwhile, the bottom timeline, representing the child's emotional needs, completely flatlines. Over time, that emotional flatline develops into survival independence. The individual encases their unmet needs behind a thick protective barrier, isolating themselves from outside input. The logic here is highly practical. If support always feels temporary or conditional, relying on it becomes a vulnerability, so they simply stop asking for help, avoiding the disappointment of being let down again. Growing up this fast also creates a hyper-awareness of emotions. They can walk into a room and read the mood in seconds, anticipating drama before it even happens. But they also know the exact toll that caring takes, which forces them to keep those emotional walls up to protect their energy. This extreme self-reliance and razor-sharp empathy are active, exhausting defense mechanisms built to prevent any further emotional neglect. To understand why this is so exhausting, we have to look past psychological behavior and examine the physiological hardware. This is about how the nervous system adapts to chronic stress. In a volatile childhood, peace and quiet rarely meant safety. Usually, a sudden calm was a warning sign, a signal that the other shoe was about to drop. Look at this diagram of the nervous system. Instead of returning to a natural resting state when things get quiet, the baseline wave gets locked in the red zone. It stays on permanent high alert, unable to power down even when external stimuli drop to zero. As an adult, this creates a bizarre paradox. Because their brain still associates quiet with incoming danger, sitting on the couch and doing absolutely nothing feels like an active threat. To soothe that anxiety, they stay in motion. Their entire sense of self-worth becomes tethered to being productive, solving problems, or being needed by the people around them. That inability to rest is effectively a neurological glitch. Long after the immediate danger has passed, the brain is still running the exact same survival software. This obsolete software leaves behind a pervasive emotional consequence. For those who grew up too fast, acknowledging their own needs triggers a deep, intense wave of guilt. To maintain early independence, the brain creates a false equation. The moment a desire for support arises, the system bypasses the option to receive care and routes directly to a critical warning. Relying on others makes you a burden. Consequently, these adults constantly downplay what they need. They apologize for asking for a simple favor, and if someone actually tries to take care of them, it feels strange, foreign, and highly uncomfortable. But carrying this exhausting programming does not mean you are broken. Your nervous system executed a brilliant strategy. It adapted to immense pressure, shielded you from further harm, and kept you safe when your environment couldn't. You had to learn responsibility before you ever learned safety, and you had to master strength long before you were allowed any softness, purely because you had no other choice. Healing leaves your strength intact. You don't have to become weak to get better. or discard the tools that kept you safe.
You are simply acknowledging that the crisis is finally over